In the words of a famous song, burn, baby, burn. Well, this has got to be a first for me. A Loyalist 12th of July bonfire pile that I actually like the look of. Say hello to the village of Moygashel in County Tyrone and look at what they done. The whole Northern Irish tradition around the 12th of July marches, the orange parades, bonfires, well, that's pretty much always been a focal point of the division here in Ireland and certainly in the north. It was a point, really the kind of focal point of division and the focal point of animosity and the focal point of a lot of angst and a lot of argy-bargy and a lot of people being disgruntled. A time in the year when the divide between Catholic and Protestant or nationalist and loyalist was crystallised over a weekend or over a day or over a few days. And this year is something different because I saw this and I immediately thought to myself, well now, there's something a bit different. The whole bonfire thing where they, have a tradition of piling up immense numbers of pallets that seem to reach to the sky. It's quite actually a feat of engineering, if engineering you would call it. That's a tradition that usually ends up with all kinds of symbols, shall we say, either draped on it and put on top of it, symbols usually of the opposition or the outright hatred, let's be honest, the outright hatred of the other tribe. And this is a loyalist thing where they would, in a lot of cases, put various effigies, there'd be tricolours, of course, all the symbols of the Republic would be essentially attached to these big constructions and of course set on fire. Now, the whole burning of effigies thing in terms of Britain is really not new. You'll be, I'm sure, well aware of the whole tradition in Britain of Guy Fawkes Night, where they basically burn an effigy of Guy Fawkes every year, the man who famously tried to blow up Parliament way back in the day, which was deemed at the time and is still deemed today as having been a rather antisocial behaviour. So he's basically burnt on bonfires every year. So there's a kind of a thing there in Britain, and certainly in the north, burning effigies of the people that you despise or hate, whereas down in the south we don't really have that same tradition. Now, the landscape, and I've spoken about this often, the landscape in the north has shifted. And I saw this the other day, and this really has put everybody up there and in the UK in a flap. Oh yeah, they don't like it up 'em. Now, I believe we're in a completely new paradigm here in Ireland, north and south. And whilst it might have gotten going, say, in the south, because we are getting absolutely hammered with both legal and illegal immigration to the point where the whole demographics of the country are being overhauled. Really, in real time. It's quite frightening. And I speak as someone who is right in the middle of it. So I see this every day with mine own eyes. But the north, too, is starting to get the same treatment. They're starting to get hammered too. And the riots and the protests and riots, protests, riots, and let's just say the discontent, very fiery discontent, in Ballymena just a few weeks ago. That's your litmus test there of things, the kettle boiling over. That's the pot boiling over there. Kettle, pot, kettle. You know what I mean. The north and south now, we're both getting the same treatment. The people in charge, the political elites, the people running the countries, they're essentially flooding us with outsiders, with foreigners. That's it. They've decided that's the way forward, and they don't really give a damn what any of us think, be it us here in the South, in the Republic, or in the North. And I'm including all the communities in the North. And that's why you're seeing something like this. Because the paradigm has shifted. Now, I'm not saying it's shifted everywhere. I'm sure there's plenty of bonfires going off with tricolours, the Pope, all the usual characters. I'm not saying that, oh no, everything's changed overnight. It hasn't. But what you're seeing here in Moygashel is, I think, very, very telling. Because the Loyalist community have now realised their backs are against the wall. And it's not just the Catholics, it's not just the Nationalists. You know, that we were always the other tribe, shall we say, and there was always an argy-bargy there, going back hundreds of years. That's deep. I mean, that's deep. And you know, from my perspective, the whole thing of the 12th and the March, the orange parades, burning of bonfires, look, let's just say I was never a fan of all that because in simple terms, I was the other tribe. I was always on the other side. I was my stuff was getting burned on the bonfires. So not a great watch by any stretch. But now what you're seeing is we're all in the same boat. Well, not the boat that's on top of that pyre. That's a different boat. And we are all realising, both North and South, both Catholic and Protestant, both Loyalist and Nationalist, that they're wiping us all out. We're all getting squeezed. And they don't really care. And they're dead set on continuing it. So what we do, and we'll just become basically rumps. We'll become, something you'll see in a Potemkin village. People go and visit you, have you in special places, like a sort of a museum of how Ireland used to be. That'll be us. There will be a zoo exhibit, basically, if they get their way. But there's a fight back going on because people don't want it. The native populations don't want what they're doing. We don't want it, but we have no say. They won't listen to us. Voting doesn't seem to get us anywhere, and no amount of marching up down the street with flags, as we're doing here in the South, all over the place, is having any effect. And now that the Loyalists in Moygashel, and I would suspect in other places, they're literally putting these things together on their 12th celebrations, on the 12th of July celebrations, which was their focal point of anti-nationalism, anti-Catholicism, anti-republicanism, all that stuff. That was their showcase, that was their shop window. And now you have the symbol of illegal migration. Because we all know illegal migration, boats, and it's been admitted by our own current Taoiseach, Micheál Martin. He's admitted openly, and this is on public record, that in his view, 80%, and I would say it's higher, about 80% of the current people in migrant accommodation and going through the asylum process are bogus. They're bogus. So instead of saying, as they do now, they've rebranded the whole thing. It's all about branding, and they've rebranded them. They're criminals, is what they are. That's what they are. They're criminals. They're not failed asylum seekers. No, they knew they weren't asylum seekers when they arrived. They're just criminals trying to get away with a crime. And what this bonfire, this effigy, is essentially saying from the grassroots, from ordinary people, is that, look, you at the top, you people, the great, the good, who rule over us and reign over us, you're trying to just essentially piss down our back and tell us it's raining, and we're not believing it. You're trying to tell us that all these people are just huddled masses fleeing persecution, wars and famines and stuff. And we know it's not true. It's absolutely not true. We know it's not true, and you're lying to us. And instead of fixing the problem and calling out what it is, criminality, and protecting us against criminality, you're not doing that. Instead, you're just rebranding the criminality. It's like, breaking into your country now illegally is no longer a crime. It's just somebody who's just misguided. No, they're really good people, but they just happen. Their first interaction with our state was they broke our laws. Yeah, but they're really good people. No, they're not. No, they're not. They are what it says on the tin, criminals. They're criminals. That's what they are. And this bonfire is essentially against criminality. It's against criminality. It's against people breaking into your country. They're demonising and vilifying criminals, people who break into your country. And that's just the same, in my view, as people who break into your house. You should vilify them too. They're breaking and entering, breaking into property that they shouldn't, that they have no right to. It's like armed robbery. Somebody robs a bank. That's criminality. You can't just say, oh no, they're just misguided, they had a bad day, or they just needed a few bob. No, sorry. No, they're criminals. We all know they're criminals. So no amount of rebranding is going to make armed robbery better. No amount of rebranding is going to make someone who breaks and enters into your home less dangerous and less bad in societal terms. So that's what this bonfire is saying. Look, we all know as a public, and I'm speaking here just as a member of a society. I'm not speaking as a nationalist or a Republican or Catholic or any of that stuff. I'm just saying we understand now, North and South, we understand what you're doing. And it's now filtering in to all facets of who we are and all facets of what we say and do as a society. It's the ultimate pushback. And I've said this again and again and again, and I say it again because at some point, governments both here and in the North and in Westminster, you're playing with fire here. Okay, this is literally a bonfire. You're literally going to be playing with fire with that effigy. But you are really in Marie Antoinette, Louis XVI territory here. The people are, as you've seen in Ballymena, you're one notch below outright fires, things going on fire, things blowing up. It's got to stop. You've got to get to grips with this, because no amount of just pillorying people, calling people far-right, alt-right, fascists, adjacent, fascists in body or whatever, is going to make any difference. People are beyond that now. People have had enough. We're beyond it. Words don't matter anymore. No amount of these headlines calling us all the great unwashed, we're too stupid to understand what's going on, and all of the rest of it. We know what's going on. We have eyes. We see it. And what you see on the top of this bonfire, that is another in a long line of warnings. And you ignore warnings from the greater population and the majority of the population at your peril.